The next question we got is from Nicholas, and he says, first of all, love the YouTube channel. My question is, what are the 2 hardware analog units you recommend for the mix bus mastering for someone wanting to go into analog hardware? So 2 mix bus processors. The quick, easy answer for that would probably be the Fusion, SSL Fusion, and maybe mix bus master. Maybe the SSL Fusion and the SSL Bus Plus. It's an affordable 2 units. Yeah, I think they're about 3,500 if you buy both of them. The reason I would say that is, as I would say 100% the first unit, if you are buying or thinking to go into kind of an analog mastering chain, the first unit to start off with before buying anything else, obviously you have great DA converters and AD converters, have all of that. But the first actual piece of hardware that is very, very good to have straight away to start with is the SSL Fusion. The reason I say that is because you have a lot of bases covered with the SSL Fusion. You've got the vintage drive, which you will never use because it's too noisy in a mastering setting. You have a low and high shelf EQ, and believe me, those low and high shelf EQs are very, very good. You also have a roll-off. You'll only ever really use it up to about 30 Hertz though, but you've got a roll-off nonetheless. You've also got in there a high frequency compressor, an Easter egg, which is a Liston mic compressor. You're not going to use that in mastering. And then you've got stereo widener. You've got also the transformer. But the reason, so they're all great. All those little tools are great for, because you're getting really good tools in one box there. The next thing which makes it really good is you've got the insert on it. Now the insert, you might think, well, it's just an insert, I might as well just put it after the Fusion. Yes, you can do that, but the thing with the insert is you've now got an insert which gives you mid-side. So you've got an insert point which gives you mid-side. Now anybody knows that if you put an EQ mid-side, you're gaining a lot more out of your EQ. So just by putting an EQ on that, at a later date you might get, I don't know, you might get a Muse EQ or a Maselec MEA2. You put that on that insert, what you've then got is you're getting the most out of your EQ, because you can switch it from mid-side to stereo. So you can have it as a stereo insert. Stereo insert, great, we're using the EQ left and right, using it in stereo. But then if we switch it into mid-side, we get the EQ where we can do the low mids. We can use the left-hand side to process the mids, which is basically your mono signal, and then the right-hand side to process your stereo signal. Now, it's brilliant, and it does give your EQ so much more. You can obviously also put compression in there, do mid-side compression. I'm not a massive fan of mid-side compression, but the option's there, and you can do all that. But ultimately, by adding an SSL Fusion, what you gain is all these great tools that are on the SSL Fusion, albeit they're not incredible, they're not top of their game. You know, you're going to want eventually to get, instead of a high-frequency compressor on the Fusion, you're going to want a nice high-frequency compressor in 19-inch rack format, rather than on the Fusion. Same with the low and high shelf EQ, albeit they are very, very good on the Fusion. You'll want an EQ further down the chain that's got a really nice and more precise high frequency, low frequency compressor, high and low frequency EQ. So, albeit you've got all these tools, great for starting out with, you've got all these tools straight away with one unit. So, they're great, but the main major thing about it is you've got that insert point for that mid side, and that makes it very, very good. So then I mean, you could put, then you've got a compressor to put in there. So we're talking 2 units. You'll want a compressor. Now I say get the SSL Bus Plus, because I paired these two together recently, and they really did sound great. The only problem is with the Bus Plus is not necessarily mastering. It's not necessarily going to be your only compressor in that chain. You're going to want another compressor after that. The Bus Plus is great the Bus Plus and Fusion combination is great because it almost polishes a mix ready for mastering with those two tools. Which is good, because what you could essentially do if they were your only two tools, you could essentially come out the box, process through the Fusion, process through the SSL Bus Plus, record back in the box, and then do digital processing after that, where you'll maybe put other processing on that, do your limiting and whatnot back once you get back in the box. So it would work with just the Bus Plus, but ultimately the Bus Plus and the Fusion, they're like a finishing mix tool, not necessarily a mastering. Now you could take that SSL Bus Plus away and get yourself something like a SPO Iron, and that's a great mastering compressor, and that will act as your mastering compressor. It's good. It's very, very good, and it's probably the option to go for. But it's a little bit more expensive. It's 4,000 instead of the Bus Plus being 2,000, and you will get a really good sound combining the SSL Fusion and the SPO Iron. So I mean, it's entirely up to you and your budget. But if I was on a budget, if I was on a low budget of like under £4,000, I would definitely pair the Fusion and the Bus Plus together. If you go onto the reviews section on our YouTube channel, you'll see a review which combines the Fusion and the Bus Plus together, and you'll see just how good they are. But like I say, is if you do go down that route and you do put an SSL Fusion and a SSL Bus Plus together, it's not necessarily going to be your mastering chain. You're going to want to build from that. But ultimately, what that does do is that starts you off with a great start to the chain. Now, everything after that is adding to that. So what you've technically got there with the Fusion and the Bus Plus is a finishing mix tool where you're just going to polish that mix, get that mix sounding the best it possibly can as like a mixed bus processor. Then go into the mastering chain, and there's no problem with going into the mastering chain. Go back into the box, process with those two for now. Process with those two, go back into the box, add some additional processing to do your master, and you'll get a great sound with those two, because it does glue. What basically what you're doing is if you're using a Fusion and the SSL Bus Plus, the Fusion is going to give you some lovely sound in terms of the EQ. It's going to give you low and high little bumps here and there. The high frequency compressor, you can take out any harshness. Stereo widen, you're going to widen it. Transformer, you can add that in, gives you a little bit of extra colory sound. It's very subtle. The insert point for anything that you do want to add. Then hit the Bus Plus. You've got the great sounding compression, which is going to glue that mix together, and all that compressor's doing is just glues that mix together and makes it really cohesive. Very, very good compressor. Then you've got the dynamic EQ in it as well, and you've also got some saturation. So you're kind of really covering a lot of bases with just these two tools. And then what you can do after that is you can add a 4-band EQ, 5-band EQ, and a mastering compressor. Gradually as you go, but this is something you can build over time. But that's the 2 units that I would recommend starting a mastering chain with, and they're the reasons why.